peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Very good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for joining us. It is a minute past 3 p.m. here in Nairobi. The show is Diaspora Dispatches, where I get to bring you the latest news from the continent of Africa. My name is Miriam Ogutu, and it is a pleasure to have you on board. And we shall start our news today from the Democratic Republic of Congo, where an activist and a national youth coordinator in the DRC has been jailed for incitement to civil disobedience. Jackie Ndala from the Together for the Republic Party of ex-Katanga, Governor Moise Katumbi, was arrested on Sunday and sentenced to 2 years in prison on Tuesday. He was fined $250, Radio Okapi has reported. The prosecutor presented a video showing him calling on party members and supporters to storm Parliament and stop debate on the controversial Congolite bill. RFI has reported. This proposed legislation was submitted for debate in July. Bansinga Pululu, an MP from President Felix Tshisekedi's party, it would exclude anyone whose parents are both not Congolese from contesting in a presidential election. And then we head over to Tanzania. Tanzanian opposition leader Freeman Mbowe, who has been arrested, his Chadema party has said he was in his hotel room on Tuesday night in Mwanza in the northwestern region, where he was attending party meetings when he was detained. Officials from Tanzania's main opposition party say they have not been able to establish where Mr. Mbowe is being held. 10 other leaders arrested alongside him had been taken to the Central Police Station in Mwanza, the party said. According to local media in East Africa region, police confirmed the arrest on suspicion of inciting an unauthorized assembly. The opposition party has been holding a series of internal meetings in an effort to revive support and had vowed to hold a big rally to push for the drafting of a new constitution. We head over to Nigeria, and the lawyer of a Nigerian separatist leader has confirmed the reports that his client, Sunday Igboho, has been detained by the authorities in neighboring Benin as he prepared to board a flight to Germany. Mr. Igboho, who campaigns for an ethnic Yoruba state in southwest Nigeria, is wanted by the Nigerian police for allegedly stockpiling arms. His house in Nigeria was raided by the police 3 weeks ago. The arrest has not been confirmed by the Nigerian authorities. We go to Tunisia, where the health minister Fawzi Mehdi has been sacked as the country struggles to cope with the surging numbers of coronavirus cases. He faced a criticism for organizing the opening of the vaccination stations to all Tunisians aged 18 over the Muslim holiday of Eid al-Adha. Correspondents say tens of thousands flocked to them on Tuesday, but the jabs quickly ran out, leading to stampedes and some violence. Coronavirus has put the medical system in the North African nation under severe pressure, and there has been oxygen shortages as hospitals in several provinces struggle with the surge. And then we go to Somalia, where the U.S. has carried out an airstrike against Islamist al-Shabaab militants in Galkayo in northern Somalia. Tuesday's airstrike was the fastest since President Joe Biden took office. The U.S. has been supporting the Somali army that was under attack by the militants. Defense Department spokeswoman Cindy King has said an assessment of the damage was still being done, by initial reports were that no civilians were injured. She said President Biden has limited the use of drone strikes. His predecessor, Donald Trump, had increased airstrikes in Somalia during his tenure. Just before he left office, he ordered that 700 special forces deployed to Somalia be withdrawn. Al-Shabaab controls much of the southern and central Somalia and regularly launches attacks against the UN-backed government. We head back over to Nigeria, and the authorities in northwest Nigeria say they have freed 100 women and children, mainly mothers nursing infants, who were seized by bandits. The group were abducted on 8th of June in Zamfara State. 4 people were also killed during the incident. The Zamfara State government said they were released without any ransom being paid, but gave no further details. The group will now be given medical checks and debriefed before they return to their homes. A spate of kidnappings has taken place in the region during the recent months. Since December 2020, more than 1,000 people have been abducted. Most have later been freed, reportedly after ransoms were paid, but some have been killed. Go to South Africa, and Jacob Zuma's long-running corruption trial will resume on August 10th, as South African judge ruled on Tuesday after the ex-president sought to have the case postponed because of the pandemic and the recent unrest witnessed in the country. The trial is adjourned to 10th. From 10th to 13th August, Judge Piet Coyne said Zuma on Monday appeared in court via video link from his prison, where he is serving a jail term for contempt of court on unrelated matter. His lawyers had applied to have the case postponed by up to 3 weeks because of the unrest and the COVID pandemic, to allow him for the trial to resume physically. The 79-year-old faces 16 charges of fraud, graft and racketeering related to the 1999 purchase of fighter jets, patrol boats and equipment from 5 European armed firms when he was deputy president. And then he head over to Mali. Mali's interim president Assimi Goïta was safe and sound, his office announced, after he had been attacked on Tuesday by 2 armed men, one of whom wielded a knife in the Great Mosque in the capital, Bamako. The attack took place during prayers for the Islamic festival of Eid al-Adha. Goïta was taken from the scene, according to the journalist, who said it was not immediately clear whether he had been wounded. An official at the presidency later said Goïta was safe and sound. Goïta arrived at the military camp of Kati outside the capital, where security has been reinforced. The official said Religious Affairs Minister Mamadou Kone said that a man had tried to kill the president with a knife but was apprehended. Latas Torre, the director of the mosque where this attack happened, said an attacker had launched at the president but wounded someone else instead. We go to Zimbabwe, and the United Kingdom will this week start the mass deportation of Zimbabweans who sought asylum at the height of the country's political upheavals under the late President Robert Mugabe. British envoys in Harare are said to have met Zimbabwe's Foreign Affairs ministry officials to lay the ground for the imminent deportation of 150 Zimbabweans. The first chartered plan with the 50 deportees is expected in Harare on Wednesday, but there is a spirited campaign by some British legislators to block the deportations. The first chartered flight, I think that was supposed to be that. Sorry for that. And then we go to Cameroon, and Muslims in Cameroon have marked the Eid al-Adha festival of the sacrifice by praying for an end to the country's separatist conflict, which has killed more than 3,000 people since 2017. Muslim leaders also called on Cameroonians vaccine skeptics to be inoculated against COVID-19, which has infected more than 80,000 people and killed at least 1,300. The council's coordinator Musa Omaru said Muslims who are separatist fighters should drop their weapons and encourage their peers of other religions to stop fighting. Cameroon estimates that there are at least 2,000 separatist fighters in its English-speaking western regions. The government said the number of fighters who are Muslims is unknown, since the rebels hide as civilians. We come back to South Sudan, and religious leaders in Western Equatoria State have expressed serious concerns over what they see as a massive distractions, killings, and the displacement of civilians in Tambura County. It is reported that violence resumed in the area over the weekend. There are claims that several homes have been torched and an unconfirmed number of people killed. Thousands of people have been displaced from Asos, Yobu, Akpa, Mabenge, Patanayo, and other locations over the weekend. Renewed attacks in the area resulted in the death of one person and injury of 4 others. The residence of the paramount chief of Tambura was burnt and looted by armed men. The residence and Chief Mborimbamu Babenzi was, however, relocated to a different location. Officials say several other homesteads have also been touched by the attackers. This latest incident occurred a week after a delegation led by the National Minister of Parliament Affairs, a peace dialogue in Tambura with different communities. And then we end with some news from Sao Tome and Principe, and a former infrastructure minister and a former prime minister have advanced to the second round of Sao Tome and Principe's presidential election. The Electoral Commission said on Monday Carlos Villanova, a former infrastructure minister who represents the party of outgoing President Evaristo Carvalho, finished first inside his first round with over 39% of the vote. Commission President Fernando Maguego told reporters Guilherme Posse da Costa, who served as Prime Minister of the small island nation in the Gulf of Guinea from 1999 to 2001, finished second with nearly 21%. Maguego said the runoff will be held on the 8th of August. That will be next month. And that is the latest from the continent of Africa this afternoon. I think this I would not call it an attempted assassination, but this attack on Mali's interim president, Assimi Goïta, I think is worrying. I remember he led the coup that removed Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta from presidency in Mali, and Boubacar Keïta disappeared to the UAE. He said he was going for treatment, and I think we had this conversation here, and I said he'll not come back. I think it was a safe exit for him, and he left. And so Assimi Goïta, the young man who led this coup, there was a president in place, and they removed the president sometimes back last month, I believe, after the president decided to make some changes in his cabinet, and so they removed him, and so he's the one who's now the interim president of Mali. So he went for the Eid al-Adha prayers in a certain mosque in the capital, Bamako, and just after the prayers, he was leaving with his entourage. And this man out of nowhere came with a knife and tried to attack him, but it wounded someone else instead. You must really have the nerve to try to attack a head of state. The military background, you can imagine how many military personnel and how much security such a person has because of obvious, the insecurity and that is there in Mali. So anyway, according to the government, that person was apprehended, and President Assimi Goïta was not really hurt. I think there's more to this story because, he removed, President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta. That was after a lot of protests from Malians who were complaining over several issues, and that led to numerous protests and all that. So finally he was able to remove him and then bring in an interim president. He had another coup, removed him, and he installed himself. So I'm sure there's a section of even the army officials who are not perhaps very comfortable with this new arrangement. So there's no telling about his safety. So I'm sure through that incident that happened yesterday, the security for Assimi Goïta will be beefed up appropriately, and Zimbabwe has now said it will be deporting back Zimbabweans, for about 150 of them who had sought asylum in the UK because of during the political upheaval under the former President Robert Mugabe, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is having that conversation with the UK, and the first chartered flight is expected today from the UK to Zimbabwe with about 50 deportees, and there has been some British legislators who have been trying to block these deportations, but we know the UK has its own issues when it comes to immigrants. Remember, that is, I think, if I'm not very wrong, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, that was the main issue that made the UK want to exit the European Union, because there is an agreement between the member states when it comes to how they welcome the immigrants. We've seen a lot of immigrants, especially that were coming from the upheaval we've seen in the Middle East and parts of Africa. And so when they get to Europe, then there was a way they agreed they had to distribute. Every country had to, shoulder this burden of the migration and the immigrants who are coming from these troubled countries. And UK was not very happy about it. And so this instigated, they're wanting to leave the EU, which right now they have officially done so. And so I'm not really surprised that they will be deporting these Zimbabweans who had ran in that country to seek for asylum during the times of Robert Mugabe. Well, and some, legislators are saying, no, you can't do that. These people have stayed here. I don't know, others maybe have even started families there. And so I think there's so much at stake right now. But the first batch of these, Zimbabweans are being deported today. So we'll see how that will happen. Emmanuel Malual, very good afternoon to you, and very nice to see you this afternoon. James Bitoro, nice to see you. Thank you so much for watching. All right. Okay. So I think the story that caught my attention, I think, from Nigeria will be the people who are freed. This is a bunch of people who were abducted, I think, sometimes back on 8th of June, and majority of those who are freed, reports say there are 100. I've seen others say more than 100 women and children, and others nursing mothers who had babies. I don't know if it's very disturbing when you hear this story. So they were in captivity until on Saturday when they were able to be rescued. I don't know why the government, which is a good thing. People have been rescued and they're safe now, but they can't say that they rescued these people. I think perhaps the abductors just maybe got tired of feeding them, or because it's a huge number. What do you do with 100 people? And they're still left with others, and these are mothers and children. I think perhaps they got tired of looking after these people and waiting for money, and they just let some of this go because perhaps it became a burden to them. Or maybe the Nigerian government improved on its negotiation skills. I don't know what they promised, but they're saying they did not pay any ransom for the release of these Nigerians. One, I don't believe that, and two, I don't know. I've said here before, this has gotten out of hand. I think I'll keep repeating. It's a broken record now, but this seems to be the norm, what is happening in Nigeria. So it's quite unfortunate and heartbreaking when you have nursing mothers and infants and young children and all these people. They were abducted, 100 of them, and the government could not even trace where they were since the 8th of June. How long is that? Almost a month and a half or so, all right? So the government of Nigeria, of course, is happy with that, but still, I think there are more questions, and for them to come out and say, oh, no, we did not pay anything, I don't know if I should believe that. All right. Thank you so much. And Robert Boeing, very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for watching. LV and so Young, I think you are from Cameroon, and I think I had a news from Cameroon here. Before I read that, Emmanuel Malual, I think you're a journalist from South Sudan, and you're saying they're struggling with ethnic communal violence across the country since yesterday. Thousands of people, including women and children, have been displaced in Tambura County of West Equatoria State. I think I just read that here just a while ago, and thank you for that. What is the new cause for this renewed communal violence? Do you know why? There's been a spate of this over the weekend, because I heard it, and now the religious leaders in the Western Equatoria State have expressed serious concerns, and they're asking the government to come in and help these civilians in South Sudan. The people of South Sudan, I hope I'll live to see a day where South Sudanese will just be settled in their country. You will be at peace. You go to sleep and you don't worry about if you'll be alive, in the morning. It's very sad. It's very sad what we see in in South Sudan. I wonder what President Salva Kiir is doing. He had not commissioned, but he had tasked, I think, his first vice president, that will be Dr. Riek Machar, to form, I don't know, a committee or something like that to go and see, one, why the soldiers were leaving the cantonment sites, and two, I don't know, the insecurity, the increase in the state of insecurity in South Sudan. I don't know how did that go, because he had told them to do that as quickly as possible. Last I checked, that was nearly 3 months ago, and I haven't heard any news. I haven't heard any report. So what to do? Okay, but it's quite worrying state of affairs. People are slowly trying to come back to their villages, to their homes from the refugee camps, and before you could even settle down, there is an increase, communal violence, and so you're forced to go back to the refugee camps. You're forced to go back to. The story in South Sudan really breaks my heart. It's quite sad, and that of Nigeria, where they keep abducting, people, and the government is just seated there. It's quite sad, to say the least. Tut Kuich Loch, you're saying South Sudanese leaders are cast lives for their refusal to bring everlasting peace to the suffering people of South Sudan. Shame on them. Absolutely. And I think that is the one thing I say here without even batting my eyes. Shame on them, because they have refused to put the interests of the people of South Sudan ahead of their own egos, ahead of their own personal interest. They're very selfish in the manner in which they're running this country. Because if the interest of the people of South Sudan was of their greater concern, I think they would have reached, an agreement. They would have even implemented some of the articles that are very important and that I think would guarantee perhaps a much safer South Sudan of the revitalized peace agreement of 2018. We've not seen them even implement half of that. And there has been a concern over concern. I think the US have raised its concerns. The United Nations Security Council, I don't know if IGAD has said anything, but part of the members states of IGAD have been accused of, fueling the conflict there and the chaos. So it's a very sad state of affairs, to say the least. James Bittori saying South Sudan is a sad case in East African community, and there's a time the East African community had threatened to strike them off because they've been unable to pay for their fee. I've been pleading for their case. I think it will be bad because, if you remove South Sudan from the East African community, where will South Sudan go? I think even with all the chaos and all that, they still need all of us to be there for South Sudan. Emmanuel Malwal, you're saying two leaders are no longer interested to serve the people. Yeah, and I agree with you. And elections are supposed to happen next year, but that can only happen if there's a peaceful, if the situation is favorable. So I don't know if they're intentionally making sure that the situation in South Sudan is unfavorable to hold an election because they don't want to have an election, because they don't want to leave power. I'm beginning to think that could be the matrix being played on the people of South Sudan. Remember, the elections are supposed to happen next year. And earlier this year, I think around February or late January, President Salva Kiir was saying that, South Sudan is not even ready for an election. And I think 2 months later, the United Nations Security Council said, South Sudan will have an election and we will support in whichever way we can. So I don't know where those talks are headed. So I don't know whether South Sudan will even have its election next year or not. But I'm beginning to think this is a situation that is very, very strategically being crafted to ensure that there's no that stability. There is no peace. The situation is not favorable for them to go to an election. Because if you can remember, because we talk about this South Sudan case here every now and then. President Salva Kiir, while they were celebrating, is it Independence Day too? Is it over a year ago, thereabout? He said the reason why he's still in power is because South Sudan is the way it is. All right, it's not stable. It's very chaotic. And as long as it continues like that, there will be no election. So you're saying if you want us to have an election and to move forward, then this chaos have to stop. But the way I see it, this is a properly choreographed situation to ensure that the upheaval continues, the chaos continues. They do not want an election. They do not want a new crop of leadership to be elected. Because as long as the violence continues, people keep leaving their villages and going back to the refugee camps. When are you going to register, even voters for the next election? When are you going to prepare? It's impossible. So they're looking for reasons and excuses. And unless I can read otherwise, I think my own personal opinion, I don't know if it matters, but that is my thinking. I think this is a very well choreographed situation to make sure the chaos continue, and so that the looting of the country resources continue, to make sure the chaos continues so that no manner of structured accountability can be put in place. They continue benefiting from this madness, and that sometimes make me a bit, feel some type of way. All right. Okay. So you're saying, to be sincere, Miriam, peace is almost in verge of collapse. No security arrangements, no parliament in place. Only God will help the people of South Sudan. I thought, there were new members of parliament that were, because you don't elect, that were appointed, I guess, and they were sworn in. I was reading that news here, if I'm not very wrong, a couple of weeks ago. I think maybe a month ago, thereabout. President Salva Kiir, he did not do that. Oh, well. Okay. All right. Igwe Donatas, relax. Okay. And thank you for watching. Thank you so much. And the rest of you, Elvis, you're saying you're watching from Cyprus, from Augusta City. Okay. All right. Very well. So I thank you so much. I think I have to go now. No, before I go, the opposition leader in Tanzania, Freeman Boy, was arrested. He's the leader of Chadema party. He was in a hotel room on Tuesday night in Mwanza in the northwestern region, where he was attending party meetings. They've been trying to meet and talk about, have conversations around a new constitution. And I think, I really thought the new President Suluhu was open to a new Tanzania, but maybe not so much, maybe in regards to COVID-19 and a bit of media freedom and that. But for now, Emmanuel, you're telling me they're not sworn in, but they were appointed, were they? Do they appoint members of parliament so they were not sworn in? I thought a few of them are not sworn in because of whatever reasons. So you're saying all of them are not sworn in. Okay, so South Sudan does not even have a parliament. Very well. So the opposition leader in Tanzania has been arrested. They've been trying to agitate for a new constitution. I think perhaps Suluhu is not ready to engage in that kind of a conversation right now. And so he was taken to the central police station in Mwanza. The party has said him and other opposition figures. And so this is a developing story, and I shall be keeping you up to date. The Tanzanian constitution, compared to the Kenyan one, our Kenyan constitution is very progressive. If we only could implement half of what is in our constitution, we will be so far as a country. Our constitution is very progressive, and the opposite of Tanzanian constitution. And I see with the agitation of a new democratic space, and we see how democracy is advancing across the world. I think the opposition in Tanzania has been working overtime to see if they could have some of this in their country, and we saw how that was met, especially with the late President Pombe Magufuli's government did not allow. So maybe the opposition thought, with the new leadership of President Suluhu, perhaps it will be the right time to start a conversation around drafting a new constitution for the country that will be more open, that will be more, democratic or something like that. But they were arrested. I don't know if they were meeting illegally. They did not tell the authorities. I don't know under what circumstances, but I guess I'll find out, and then I'll be here tomorrow to bring you the details and to tell you what happened. Okay? All right. All right, Peter Anayo, thank you for watching. I'll go now. Emmanuel Maluel, thank you for that. You're saying only the cabinet was sworn in. All right. Thank you for that. Can we meet here again tomorrow, 3 p.m., please? I'll have more news for you from across the continent of Africa. Thank you for your patronage. My name is Miriam Ogotu. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye for now.
must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.